Do you understand what truly sets apart a mature woman who captivates a younger man from one he only views as a maternal figure? It's probably not what you think. It's not her age. It's not her appearance. It's not her finances. It's something far more nuanced, something many women misunderstand without even realizing it. If you've ever been attracted to a younger man and noticed the dynamic shift the moment he finds out your age, or if you've ever felt awkward, as though you had to justify your presence or explain yourself, this insight could completely transform your outlook. What I'm about to reveal contradicts most of what you've heard about relationships with notable age differences. After analyzing hundreds of real-life scenarios and uncovering the factors that truly make these relationships flourish, I found that the women who navigate them successfully tend to do the exact opposite of what conventional advice suggests. And the contrast is so unmistakable that once you see it, you'll understand why some connections thrive while others turn into awkward moments you wish you could forget. The reality is that there's a particular behavioral tendency that pushes younger men away, and it's not about age. It's about the unspoken signals many women send without knowing it's signals that reveal insecurity, a craving for validation, or a pressing urge to prove themselves. But before you assume this is another cliché about dressing younger or acting differently, let me tell you what I've noticed from women who genuinely excel in these types of relationships. They're not trying to compete with youth. Instead, they bring something entirely distinct, something younger women simply can't replicate. Picture this. You're a 45-year-old divorced woman with adult children, finally enjoying time to focus on yourself. You meet a 32-year-old man at a gathering and feel immediate chemistry, but the moment the chat becomes personal, the spark seems to fizzle. He stays courteous, but the vibe shifts. Why? More often than not, it's not the age difference that cools the energy, it's how she responds to it. She might begin making jokes at her own expense about her age, or slip into a nurturing, motherly tone. Maybe she starts emphasizing her achievements and trying to validate her worth through accomplishments. Can you guess the most common unconscious mistake older women make when they're interested in a younger man? They step into the caregiver role. They treat him like a son, offering unsolicited advice, shielding him from challenges he's capable of handling, overextending themselves, or worrying about things that don't concern him. Here's what people rarely tell you. Behaving this way triggers his instinct to be a son, not a partner. A younger man who's genuinely interested in a mature woman isn't looking for another parent, he's already got one. He's searching for a true companion, someone to share a passionate, grown-up connection with, one that's rich in depth and mutual respect. Now picture yourself in his position. Would you feel drawn to someone who constantly treats you like you're incapable, as if you need constant guidance or sheltering? Real attraction stems from mutual respect, admiration, and the sense that you're standing on equal ground, not from having a protector or mentor. Let me tell you about Maria, a 50-year-old woman I knew a while back. She had been married for a quarter of a century, divorced for 2 years, and was re-entering the dating world. She connected with David, a 35-year-old man, and initially things went very well. But gradually, her behavior began to undermine the relationship. Every time David brought up stress at work, Maria jumped into advisor mode. If he wanted to do something impulsive, she'd caution him to reconsider. Whenever he voiced doubt, she offered solutions based on her years of experience. What Maria failed to grasp was that David wasn't searching for a mentor, he wanted a companion. It becomes even more harmful when a woman tries to take control of the relationship from the outset. This often happens when she believes her life lessons entitle her to dictate how things unfold, predicting his behavior, offering constant guidance, or subtly molding him to fit her expectations. What she doesn't see is that this suffocates the unpredictability and sense of wonder, two essentials for real chemistry. Younger men are pulled toward vitality, spontaneity, the thrill of new experiences. But when everything feels predetermined and overly managed, where's the room for him to feel like he's actively shaping the story of your shared journey? Now think about it. If each time he makes a suggestion, you already forecast the outcome. Each time he wants to try something new, you already know the answer. Every time he leans toward risk, you've already weighed the odds. How would he feel? Most likely, like he's in a beautiful but confining space, safe, yet unable to grow freely. Here's another important point. Many older women unintentionally undermine themselves because they feel uneasy about their age. When asked how old they are, they deflect, make nervous jokes, or steer the conversation elsewhere, often accompanied by self-deprecating remarks. What does this signal? That age is a drawback, a source of embarrassment. In contrast, a woman who answers with ease and poise, who doesn't shy away from her age or try to apologize for her history, instantly becomes more attractive. Her self-assurance is palpable and deeply compelling. I recall a story from a client of mine. She went on a date with a younger guy, and when he asked how old she was, she smiled and said, "I'm 43, and every one of those years has given me something invaluable." She didn't deflect, didn't make a joke, didn't act embarrassed. She simply embraced her truth with elegance. He wasn't impressed by her age, was drawn to the conviction with which she carried it. Let me now talk about another frequent misstep I often observe: the fixation on appearing younger. Don't get me wrong, it's perfectly healthy to look after yourself, to care about your appearance, and to stay active. The issue arises when that care turns into desperation, when it becomes a panicked effort to compete with women in their 20s on their own playing field. Do you know what happens when a younger man senses you're pretending to be someone you're not? He disconnects almost immediately, because what drew him in to begin with wasn't your ability to imitate youth, it was the very qualities that come with age: self-assurance, presence, and emotional depth. A younger man drawn to an older woman isn't chasing a younger version of his peers. If that's what he wanted, he'd date someone closer to his own age. What he craves is something altogether different, something only a mature woman can bring. Let me share the story of Carmen, a 48-year-old who spent thousands of euros on anti-aging treatments. She had Botox, fillers, luxury skincare, and a wardrobe tailored to someone half her age. When she met Andres, a 34-year-old man, she believed her transformed appearance would capture his interest. But what happened surprised her. Andres was courteous, but emotionally distant. Upon reflecting, Carmen realized that in trying so hard to appear young, she had sacrificed her authenticity. She became so consumed by the image she wanted to project that she lost touch with her real self. Her charm, her essence, her true presence had all been hidden behind a facade of synthetic youth. Here's a truth many women overlook: attempting to dazzle him with your career success or financial stability can actually push him away. Of course, it's impressive that you're accomplished, self-reliant, and have built a solid foundation in life. But when that becomes the central theme of your interactions, when all you highlight are your job titles, real estate, and travels, you're missing the point. Genuine attraction doesn't stem from a resume. It grows from emotional connection, the sense that life feels richer with this person beside you. Your achievements may earn admiration, but they don't always inspire desire. From his viewpoint, if every interaction becomes a presentation of your accomplishments, how might he feel? Most likely like he's being interviewed for a position, not courted on a date. And if you constantly highlight your financial independence, what message are you sending? That your worth is rooted in what you own, not in who you are. And here's one of the most subtle yet damaging mistakes: over-availability. Answering messages instantly, dropping your plans to accommodate him, always being ready the moment he reaches out, showering him with praise. All these things may feel like love or devotion, but what he senses is emotional scarcity. And scarcity, regardless of age, is never alluring. The woman who follows her own rhythm, who nurtures her passions, who is open but not clingy, who chooses to be present rather than needing to be this woman, commands both admiration and attraction. Imagine this: he sends a message and you reply immediately. He suggests an idea and you agree without hesitation. He mentions something and you immediately shower it with praise. How is that going to make him feel? Likely overwhelmed and, to be honest, a bit uninterested. Because where's the intrigue? Where's the allure? Where's the feeling that he's winning over someone truly remarkable? Now here's a subtler issue I want you to really consider. Many older women fall into the trap of being overly serious. They believe that to be taken seriously, they must always be composed, formal, and in control. And in doing so, they suppress their playful, flirtatious side entirely. But what is a younger man really seeking in a mature partner? He isn't after more responsibility or solemnity, already deals with enough of that in his professional and personal life. He craves someone who can laugh with him, who's spontaneous, who radiates vibrant energy and embraces enjoyment with the groundedness and poise that only life experience brings. That blend of liveliness and maturity is truly magnetic. It's not about acting young, it's about being energetically wise. Take Patricia, for example, a 51-year-old woman who, after a tough divorce, developed a very controlled and serious demeanor. To earn respect at work and as a single mom, she believed she had to project unwavering command. When she met Roberto, a 36-year-old man, she carried that same tone into their budding relationship. Their early dates were respectful, but emotionally flat. Patricia talked about meaningful subjects, gave thoughtful opinions, and portrayed herself as responsible and composed. But Roberto felt like he was sitting through a corporate meeting, not sharing an intimate date. There was no humor, no spontaneity, none of that electricity that makes people feel truly alive together. And here's another key issue, the trap of fake detachment. Some women think they need to act indifferent, as if he's just another guy, holding back emotion to avoid appearing too eager. But this is a major error. When you pretend, it always shows, and what he picks up on isn't confidence or mystique, but emotional coldness, or even superiority. Real maturity is the ability to show sincere interest without being needy, to share genuine emotion without manipulation, and to be real without overwhelming. When a mature woman pretends not to care, she silences one of her most powerful assets, her ability to emotionally connect in an honest, grounded way. Younger men, often accustomed to more surface-level interactions with women their age, find this kind of emotional authenticity incredibly compelling when it's real. Now let me reveal the core of all these missteps, because once you understand this, everything else starts to fall into place. Many mature women enter these situations believing that their age puts them at a disadvantage, something they must somehow make up for. That mindset leads them to behave in ways that betray their authenticity. They become overly eager to prove they're deserving, controlling out of fear of being dismissed, or overly accommodating because they feel they should be thankful just for the attention. But here's the truth, that change is everything. Your age isn't a liability, it's a distinction. And differences, when embraced confidently, can be powerfully attractive. A younger man who genuinely gravitates toward an older woman isn't looking for her to overcompensate. He's interested in her for exactly who she is, a woman with depth, life experience, emotional richness, and a perspective he hasn't yet gained. Consider it from a new angle. What can a mature woman provide that a woman closer to his age might not? First, a worldview shaped by time and insight. Second, emotional grounding that only develops through lived experience. Third, a sense of self that isn't tied to external validation, something many younger women are still exploring. More significantly, a woman who has lived through challenges, who has grown through adversity and emerged wiser, brings with her a level of emotional depth that is incredibly compelling. It's not about how many birthdays you've had, it's about how intentionally you've lived. Want to know the secret of women who thrive in these types of connections? They're not out to seduce. They're simply showing up as themselves. They don't suppress their nature, they honor it. They don't apologize for their past, they use it as a source of strength. When a woman stops striving to impress and instead leads with authenticity, when she steps out of the competition with youth and offers something completely unique, when she embraces who she is and lives from that place of wholeness, she becomes magnetic. Take Ella Lenina, for example, a 46-year-old woman who had weathered a painful divorce and raised 2 kids alone. When she met Marcos, a 33-year-old man, she didn't hide behind a curated version of herself or try to appear younger. She shared her reality honestly. She spoke of sleepless nights, of lessons in resilience, of rebuilding a life with strength and purpose, not to gain sympathy but simply as part of who she is. And what captivated Marcos wasn't the drama of her story, but the calm power and clarity she radiated. Because what a younger man truly seeks in an older partner isn't a more polished version of someone his own age, it's something completely different. He wants someone with undeniable presence, who doesn't chase approval to feel valuable, someone grounded in her own energy without apology. Think of it like this. The moment you feel the need to prove you're desirable, you start to lose the very magnetism you naturally possess. Real attraction happens when someone recognizes your worth without needing constant reminders. And here's something truly powerful to take in. A woman who honors herself, who invests in her well-being, out of self-respect, not out of fear, who shows up openly because she knows exactly who she is, exudes a kind of magnetism that transcends age. She radiates something deeply rare and impossible to fake, authenticity, which is increasingly scarce in today's dating world. Most people are busy trying to be what they assume others want them to be. But when you encounter someone who is unapologetically themselves, who isn't performing, who isn't trying to be more or less than they are, it creates an immediate and genuine connection. Picture yourself at a social event and meeting someone who's just real. They're not trying to impress, not putting on a mask. How do you feel? Likely at ease, curious, and genuinely drawn in. Here's the greatest irony. The women who succeed most with younger men are often the ones who make the least effort to win them over. They're too busy living fulfilling lives to chase validation. They're not trying to fill an emotional gap, they're offering from a place of inner fullness. They're not seeking something outside themselves, they're naturally sharing what they already possess. And that distinction is palpable. When a mature woman stands in her own power, when she's let go of the past, excited about her current chapter, and optimistic about what's ahead, her energy becomes contagious. Younger men, often navigating uncertainty and self-doubt, find themselves instinctively drawn to that sense of grounded clarity. But let's be clear, This doesn't mean stepping into the role of a teacher or advisor. It means allowing your very way of being to inspire not through effort, but simply through the example of a meaningful life. When you begin to see your age as a strength, not a shortcoming, when your experience is no longer a weight, but a badge of wisdom, when you stop trying to measure up to youth and instead offer what only you can, that's when everything transforms. Because here's the undeniable truth. You hold something at 20, something can't match perspective. You know what you want and what you won't settle for. You've cultivated emotional resilience through lived challenges. You carry the calm confidence of someone who no longer needs to prove her worth. Ask yourself, sure, a young woman might be attractive, bright, and engaging, but can she offer the insight of someone who's deeply lived? Can she provide the emotional balance of someone who's weathered life's storms? Can she give the freedom of someone who's no longer trying to figure herself out? All of that, when you fully embody it, becomes incredibly alluring. The younger man who finds himself attracted to you isn't searching for a mother figure, a life coach, or someone pretending to be in her 20s. What he's drawn to is a woman who radiates presence and honesty, a woman who doesn't need anyone else's approval to feel attractive. He's looking for someone who can share life lessons with him, not from a pedestal, but through mutual understanding. He's curious about the emotional depth she brings, not because of her age, but because she's lived with intensity and purpose. Take Adriana, for instance, 52-year-old woman who had seen the world, built a thriving career, raised her children, and survived a life-threatening illness. When she met Jungian, a 35-year-old man, she didn't lead with her accomplishments. She didn't need to. She simply existed as herself, a woman who had embraced every chapter of her life. Jungian wasn't captivated by a list of achievements. What intrigued him was the way Adriana carried herself. There was serenity in her presence, a confidence rooted not in pride, but in deep self-awareness. In her company, he sensed he was with someone who knew exactly who she was. The real secret lies in this. It's never been about age, but about presence. Not the number of years lived, but the energy with which they were lived. Not just what's been experienced, but how that experience has been absorbed and expressed. When a woman truly grasps this, when she stops resisting her age and begins to celebrate it, when she recognizes that her worth doesn't need explanation, that's when she becomes magnetic. That's the woman others admire, the one people are drawn to not because she's perfect, but because she's real. Because in the end, what truly pulls people in isn't flawlessness, it's sincerity. Not youth, but vibrant aliveness. Not experience alone, but the spark of a spirit enriched by life's journey. And that, dear reader, is something only you can bring. You don't need to excuse it. You don't need to compensate for it. You certainly don't need to mask it. You need to own it, celebrate it, and let it be the source of your natural allure. When a mature woman embraces this truth, when she no longer views her age as something to overcome but as her greatest power, when she finally sees that the very traits she once viewed as shortcomings are actually her most captivating features, that's when her entire life transforms, not just her relationships,